Everybody, what is going on? It is Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. Back at it again with another episode of Crypto Happy Hour. Probably more like a sad hour this week, as anybody who has Blockfolio, Delta, or is looking at the screen right now can see. We got Bitcoin at $4,200 on GDAX. If you're looking at Tether, it's a little bit different with the Tether inflation. But the crypto markets have just been absolutely positively or negatively shitting the bed. And because of that, and because it's Crypto Happy Hour, and it's been a while since I've really had some booze, I got a very expensive, very fancy beer. We got some Miller High Life, the champagne of beers, and I'm going to pop the champagne of beer for, if I can even do this, I don't have nails. I'm gonna pop my champagne of beers and start drinking that, because that's the only way to quell some of the the issues that we're going through right now. But as I'm recording this, per usual, when I do record a YouTube live, the non-financial advice is to go 100x short, because the market always dumps, and we have a red candle as I'm going live here. What's going on? Mixie B, Bobby, you don't look good. I look great. I look like $1,000. Let's be honest. You're just mad I've grown out my hair and I'm not getting a haircut until the bear market ends, and I'm not shaving my 12-year-old beard until the bear market ends either. What's going on? I lost all my money. I can't afford a beer. That is not ideal. That's not ideal. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what's happening right now in the market as a whole. Obviously, answer your questions. Just kind of wanted to come on here today and shoot the shit. I know that the market has not been fun. There's definitely no rah-rah speech or anything like that coming from my end. It hasn't been a good time. The YouTube comments right now are absolutely awesome. They are a sight to behold. They're a sight to behold at this point in time, just because I think there are a lot of people that unfortunately bought pretty high, and it is the things that are being told to me, not fun. But hey, it is what it is. I'm out here having a good time. So, Jason Bond, stupid ad for the 100 millionth time. At least it's not Craig Wright. But as far as things go today, woke up this morning, saw we were at $4,400. Obviously, we dumped overnight from $4,800. The rest of the market has dumped as well, or continues to do so. We are down about $18 billion. Down about 11% in the past 24 hours, and that's down even further from the day before. Bitcoin leading the way, but basically every single other asset is following. If we pop over to on-chain FX, Factum is the only asset really that's up. Civic against USD, Maker's up a bit, but there are 7 assets, and the vast majority, I would venture to say that maybe even if you do have those assets, or if you do have those crypto assets, it is not something that is saving your portfolio in any way whatsoever. We'll pull up here on the market cap. I mean, the top market cap, Bitcoin is down. XRP is down against the USD after performing fairly well against Bitcoin and kind of holding its value USD wise. Ethereum is getting absolutely smoked. Bitcoin Cash, with the whole debacle that's happening with the ABC versus SV. Stellar's getting worked. EOS is, while up slightly against Bitcoin, getting worked. Litecoin is almost under $30 for the first time in a hot minute. We have Ethereum coming close to Arthur Hayes' prediction of being a double-digit shitcoin. So a lot of different things that are happening at this point in time. And so looking at some of these kind of questions here, is the Ponzi falling apart? Seeing a lot of thought process, seeing a lot of thoughts and a lot of comments. Haha, you're an idiot, you bought the Ponzi. Haha, you're an idiot. Yada yada yada. For me, my cost basis is still way lower than where I'm at right now. So that's my kind of prerogative. I'm still down USD way more than I was in January of 2018. Let's not sit here and sugarcoat it. I would have been much better if I sold everything in January of 2018. My thought process as far as the industry goes, do I believe in a lot of this, do I believe in a lot of the technology? Yes, I do. Specifically in Bitcoin, that is where I'm concentrating the vast majority of my holdings right now, and in cash. and waiting to buy if we continue to dip lower, waiting to buy in more at this point. I think that we are getting close to seeing potentially a really incredible opportunity to acquire Bitcoin at a very low rate. And that's something that I am, while my portfolio is absolutely wrecked, I do think that we are going to see an opportunity for people that are have a high degree of conviction in this. This is not, the crypto markets as a whole have always been incredibly volatile, not for those with weak stomachs, and something that you do not want to buy after something goes up a shit ton. And I think we're learning, and this is really a repeat cycle of what I saw when I bought the top in 2014, and a lot of how I felt in 2014 too when I bought the top and saw the market bleed out for an extended period of time. Although just my past experiences has been able to dictate some of my thought process and have helped me to stomach a little bit of this. One of the things that I will say, so I talked about it on Twitter a little bit today, but when I woke up this morning, I told some people, I tweeted, and it got a ton of likes, because anytime you say anything about buying crypto, it gets likes because people think it's going to pump their bags. I bought Bitcoin at the $5,600 range because I thought that was a decent risk reward. I got stopped out at $5,200. I got stopped out at $5,200, so I actually shockingly, I set a stop loss. Got stopped out there, and then when I woke up and saw that we were at the $4,400 range, I went back in and ended up taking just a quick 5% profit here. So far, that was actually not the worst trade I've ever made, but I have about 35% of my portfolio is back in cash, sitting on the sidelines, waiting to see how things shake out if we do dip back lower. And that's kind of my just trading portfolio as a whole. I also have just cash that's sitting on the sideline that I will likely put into Bitcoin if we see drops below the $3,500 range. Not seeing, for me, a ton of great momentum, obviously. I think people are still very hesitant to make any type of move. I've seen a lot of different commentary in the Telegram groups. Are you buying? These look like tasty, these look like pretty tasty prices. Is anybody going in? It's kind of falling on deaf ears and kind of seems silent. So for me right now, I am letting things shake out with about 35% of my portfolio in cash, with also additional cash on the sidelines if we break through $4,000 and continue to just go lower, because I feel like that's, for me right now, a good move. So taking a look at some of these questions. Holy crud, you're doing a live stream finally. Yep. And I'm drinking the champagne of beers because you gotta pop beer champagne when the market just goes absolutely upside down. And so one thing that was mentioned too, and this was actually one of the reasons that I ended up this morning after I opened up the $4,400 position, Bitcoin just spot long, and saw the news about Bakkt. So if we pop over to, we'll just go to the block, usually easiest. I think Coinbase actually broke this, but so Bakkt pushed back its futures launched in 2019. Plans with Starbucks still on track. So at some point in 2019, looks like you might be able to actually buy Starbucks coffee, whatever, with cryptocurrency. I'm assuming Bitcoin at this point in time. But the futures, which were supposed to launch on December 12th, I believe, futures which were supposed to launch on December 12th did not launch, or are not going to launch in December. They are now going to launch in January. And some people, it's now going to be January 24th. There was an accompanying blog post where the CEO, Kelly Loeffler, said that they have a ton of institutional interest and they're putting all this stuff in, but some people are saying, hey, they're probably pushing out this because they didn't have as much interest as they initially thought and they needed more time to get things set up. I am not exactly sure what that might be, but I think that a lot of people, while I'll preface this, I do not think that Bakkt theoretically should not have a positive impact on the Bitcoin price. I've asked people that are professional cryptocurrency investors, that are the quote unquote institutional investors, that are the Wall Street cryptocurrency folks, and I've asked them, hey, is Bakkt going to potentially have a positive impact on the price of Bitcoin? And pretty much the overwhelming answer is no. It really should not make much of a difference in terms of the price. Bitcoin or Bakkt will not. But when you look at like the retail kind of thought process, I think a lot of people are still expecting Bakkt as a positive catalyst. It is now taken away at least until mid-January. So that is one of the reasons that I took my small bit of profit and headed for the exit, sitting in cash and waiting some of this out. So looking at who the heck would buy anything with BTC so slow? So I don't think necessarily and somebody just tweeted it about too. I think Chain Analysis, which does really good research, tweeted about, or they did a research report that about, I think the transactions for cryptocurrency commerce providers, most of them are Bitcoin, are down about 80%. So people that are buying crypto or buying things with cryptocurrency, whether it's computers, clothes, whatever, just e-commerce stuff, those are down about 80% this year. And yes, Bitcoin is slightly slow, but I also do think that there's something to be said about the security and the kind of trust that Bitcoin has over a lot of these other cryptocurrencies. A lot of people point to these to some of these faster solutions out there, and I do think that many of them suffer from issues of either mining centralization or just outside of mining centralization, the ease of a 51% attack, a number of different components that make it unattractive for me. And I think while it is not doing a good job of storing value at all right now, Bitcoin is most certainly not storing your value in a positive sense. I do think that it has really interesting implications in the future. There was a podcast I was listening to recently. Pomp has a podcast, Off the Chain. You guys probably follow Pomp on Twitter if you're on Twitter. But when it comes down to it, Pomp has, in my opinion, one of the best crypto podcasts, if not the best crypto podcast out there right now. I really, really enjoy his stuff. He's one of the better interviewers out there. And he had an interview with Murad. I think it's at muststopmurad on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. But they talked about the kind of long-term bullish case. Murad is actually bearish short to medium term, I believe, right now, but long-term, very much a Bitcoin bull. But I think that he really lays out an incredible thought process and thesis around that. So I'd recommend going and checking out Pomp's Off the Chain podcast with Murad if you're interested in why Bitcoin might have incredible long-term value, even if there are certain issues with it right now in terms of speed and things like that. Bitcoin is slow, the expensive. Only thing it has is the name. James, Bobby, you suck like the Jets. The Jets do suck. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that. I don't think that Bitcoin, the only thing that Bitcoin has is its name. I think that is a tremendous oversimplification of things, and it's easy to look on the outside of like a lot of these other like shiny cryptocurrencies. Number one, if you're looking at trading, okay, let's just ignore the long-term technical specifics of Bitcoin, which I do think outside of Ethereum, and I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are approaching two very different markets, and I think can coexist. In my opinion, Ethereum and Bitcoin can coexist. I know some Bitcoin maximalists do not believe so, but in my opinion, Bitcoin and Ethereum can coexist. When you look at Bitcoin, and then also to a lesser extent Ethereum, a lot of people are like, Bitcoin, the only thing it has is its name. Bitcoin has a liquidity. If you're looking at trading right now, I had there was a crypto, what's it called? I had a small position. It was like a $2,000 position recently in a crypto that I wanted to get out of. It was, I think, a $5 million market cap. I had like 10% slippage moving a $2,000 position, selling at a loss, classic. But I had like 10% slippage, essentially selling a $2,000 position because there is literally no liquidity on the order books. yeah, you might not like certain aspects of Bitcoin right now, but if you have any, like, I mean, if you're trading a couple $100, that's fine. But if you have a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever, multiple $1,000 position, probably upwards of $10,000, and you're trying to exit some of these cryptocurrencies, you are going to get crushed with slippage if you are not trading Bitcoin, Ethereum, or maybe like a top 5, top 10 cryptocurrency. Even things outside of the top 10, the order books are so thin, the liquidity is so bad right now that if you just want to look at things from a trading perspective, one of the biggest advantages Bitcoin has right now is liquidity. Across the board, it does. Can you even give me one advantage BTC has over XRP outside of market cap? LOL. Yeah, I mean, there's freaking a billion. One, Bitcoin isn't backed by Ripple Inc. And Bitcoin is not on a distribution path that Ripple says it's on. There are multiple kind of issues, I think, potentially with XRP and the centralization behind that. And a lot of people will say, Ripple nodes or XRP nodes are less centralized now than Bitcoin mining, yada yada yada, and certain things, that might be okay. But I do think that, I don't know. It's there's for whatever reason there are a lot of XRP people that have just kind of come in recently and are going nuts about it. But I do think that when you're looking at XRP, it is a completely different value proposition than Bitcoin is. Completely different value proposition, and I think that for me personally, XRP is not an interesting play at all. Maybe the value is something that you as an individual might recognize with. I think that XRP is somewhat the antithesis to decentralization and to what Bitcoin might actually be able to accomplish in the world. You might view XRP as the next great thing and the best thing since sliced bread. That's, for me, it's Ripple. I'll preface this. Ripple probably has Ripple, I think, most likely has excellent technologists. They have, I'm sure, fantastic people working there. The company itself is probably one of the more legitimate ones in the space. But when I'm looking at XRP as a separate thing from Ripple, I am not. XRP doesn't appeal to me. It just doesn't appeal to me as an investment vehicle potentially. So that's my thought process on that. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. That's kind of how I think about things. So one thing I will say though is that you may or may not, if you're a big old XRP fan right now and you think that you listen to the narrative on Twitter that XRP is more decentralized than BTC, which is a total load of bullshit. But and you think, okay, XRP is more decentralized than Bitcoin, whatever. You've seen in the past couple of days with the issues around Bitcoin Cash, I think they've had spillover to Bitcoin, even though they don't necessarily involve Bitcoin. The issues around Bitcoin Cash spill over to Bitcoin because I don't know, whatever. But the market has actually favored the centralization of XRP, in my opinion, which is why, in some respects, XRP has held value better. Certain assets that do have a higher degree of centralization, XRP as well as EOS, both have some elements of centralization, be it block producers or Ripple itself, the company behind XRP. That has held up better in this scenario than having this decentralized version of it. Utility. Ripple has bigger partnerships than 99% of the companies on the planet. That's fine. That partnerships are the cutest thing in the world. Partnerships are fantastic. They're cute. You can have Bill Clinton speak at the conference. That's fine. That's cool. I'm not going to see, oh, wow. Oh. All right, XRP. Come on. Give it to me, XRP. Give it to me, XRP fanboys. Let's go. Shit. Whatever. If you like XRP, fucking buy XRP. I will not buy XRP, maybe outside of some type of short-term trade. I don't like XRP as a crypto asset. You might like XRP as a crypto asset. If you like it, buy it. I am saying I don't like XRP as a crypto asset, so I'm not going to buy it. You can try to tell me it's the best thing since sliced bread, but that is what it is. Oh, wow. So taking a look at some of these questions. Ripple is tied to every major banking institution on the planet. Is it? Is Goldman using Ripple? Is JP Morgan using Ripple? I don't know. You guys are the fucking worst. All right, so getting off Ripple because I think I've covered it enough. And again, Ripple is different than XRP, I guess, and whatever. I'm not saying Ripple is a bad company. I'm not saying bad people work at Ripple. I am not saying anything like that. All I'm saying is I do not like XRP as a crypto asset. And you can like XRP as a crypto asset. And if you want to buy all of it and you want to put 100% of your net worth in it, you are absolutely my guest. I am not your financial advisor. I'm sitting here drinking Miller High Life and enjoying my night, and I hope you're enjoying yours. So, what do we got? This is an odd happy hour. Yep, happy hour's lit. Am I drunk, dude? No, I've actually had 2 sips of a Miller High Life, and I think this is like, I don't know, 4% alcohol, maybe. So I could probably have 4.6. So I could have a lot of these. I'm here all night. XRP Bobby's back, baby. So are you still DCA dollar cost averaging into crypto? Yeah, good question. For me right now, I have a large portfolio of crypto. I do still have recurring buys set into Bitcoin and Ethereum, primarily 75% Bitcoin, about 25% Ethereum. I do have recurring buys in that. And then I also have a portfolio in which I buy, hold, trade a little bit as well. So I am still dollar cost averaging, although my portfolio is kind of large enough at this point in time where the dollar cost averaging doesn't make as much of an impact as usual. The one thing that I will say with dollar cost averaging is I do have cash on the side if and when we do see a big move. I mean, we've already seen certainly a big move here with Bitcoin dropping pretty heavily, but if we see sub 4,000 or sub like $3,500 Bitcoin, outside of dollar cost averaging, I would likely put a large injection of USD into Bitcoin. That's what I'm going to look at. How do you set up recurring buys? You can do it on Coinbase. It's not always the most efficient thing because you have to pay fees on Coinbase. I'd rather use GDAX formerly or Coinbase Pro. If you want to do it manually, just set an alert on your phone and go in every Wednesday or whatever, or every once a month and buy it. There's a lot of different ways in which you can do that. So, seeing some questions about Cardano. I am not in Cardano anymore. That was probably my best trade of... Cardano is probably my best trade of 2017. And as a result, made me pay a lot of taxes in 2018, unfortunately. But I do not have a Cardano position at this point in time. I bought... I think I bought Cardano at 3 cents and 10 cents and sold it at 75 cents. Or the vast majority of it at 75 cents. It is now back down to 4 cents. So it is pretty much completely retraced. I believe I had my first entry was, I believe my first entry was like somewhere around like November of last year. Shout out to Rocco Abstropoulos on Twitter, who was the one who tipped me on to Cardano when it was only on Bittrex and nobody was talking about it. But for right now, it's not. Cardano isn't a... I think people are, I guess I'll say this too. I think when it comes down to these platforms, there's a lot of people are disenfranchised with Ethereum as a whole. And I think that they're also disenfranchised with dApps or decentralized applications, whatever you want to call them. People look at the work that's happened on Ethereum so far, and there's thousands and thousands of developers. There's all these dApps that have been built or that are being built. Also EOS to some extent. But they're seeing it and they're saying, hey, you know what? Maybe this decentralized world computer, maybe running apps on top of Ethereum or on top of EOS or on top of Cardano or on top of Neo, maybe that's not a use case that actually means anything. And I think people have fallen out of love a little bit from an investment standpoint, just from a use case standpoint with distributed application, or excuse me, with decentralized applications. So because of that, I'm less interested in right now investing in something like, or putting money into something like ADA as a smart contract platform. So Jeremy, what's up? How have your YouTube views been affected by the market since the market's turned? I mean, they're way down. There's everything in the market's way down. I just talked about before, 80% of the commerce is down or like e-commerce through crypto is down. I think you've seen like volume down, and today I actually had pretty good volume, but volume is down substantially in the past year in 2018, whether it's Coinbase, Binance, new users, signups, things like that. Even seeing like different, like, I mean, you could even see the number of people that used to post YouTube videos every single day. And I mean, I used to post YouTube videos more often. Sometimes I'm just really busy now with my day job, but there are people that just don't post anything anymore. And I was laughing yesterday because shout out to Tai Lopez, but Tai Lopez on his, where is he? Here's the joke. Lopez Crypto Podcast. Let's bring it up, baby. So I was going to tweet this, but the joke is to slowly sell. He started recording podcasts. To his credit, he recorded 93, but he started recording podcasts on December 9th of 2017, which is essentially the Bitcoin top. And he pretty much stopped recording podcasts in May of 2018, and I guess had one episode in September. But I think the key in the future is to buy when Tai Lopez is not recording podcasts and sell when Tai Lopez is recording podcasts again. I think that's just a general strategy. That's seems like it might be foolproof. So I think in the future, once we start seeing a lot more activity in the space, it's a weird cycle. But I thought that was kind of funny that it's basically like in the bull, like literally at the top of the market, all these people come on the scene and start doing a bunch of shit, and then as soon as the market gets tough, as soon as interest starts waning away, they just kind of. So we back though. Simon DV, do what Bobby isn't doing and you win. Yeah, that's pretty true as well. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with it, bro. What's up, James? Genuinely heard that the main mining companies are squeezing the price right now to eradicate competition, OPEC style. I haven't necessarily heard that. I mean, if you're looking at mining as a whole, it's really primarily centralized around Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin, or I mean, Bitcoin. It's primarily centralized around Bitmain. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening with their IPO, with their upcoming IPO, especially with the Bitcoin Cash fork that happened. Bitmain as a whole has a massive Bitcoin Cash position on their balance sheet and had a huge incentive behind the fork of Bitcoin Cash. So it's interesting how that'll pan out ahead of their IPO. I'm sure there's quite a bit of gamesmanship there. I wouldn't touch that IPO with a 10-foot pole for me, but so looking at some of these questions as well, shoot them all my way. I got a lot of beer to drink. Actually, I just have one, but then I got wine too, so Are you seeing people lose their crypto jobs? So no, not necessarily. I think hopefully companies out there plan for this type of situation, and if companies did a token sale or something like that, they either didn't overhire or they took out enough Ethereum from their treasury and converted that to fiat so that they had runway, or so that they have runway. I'm not necessarily seeing that right now, but there are, revenues at a lot of these companies are way down. The crazy thing about the market is incredibly cyclical towards the price. Everything in this market is cyclical with the price. Whether it's from my dumb perspective, the YouTube views and the podcast listens, they go, Bitcoin's price and the crypto market price goes up, the price of or the views go way up. If the price starts going up, the volume goes up. It's just this whole, if there's a million different things that really are completely dependent upon the price of Bitcoin and the price of the crypto markets, or the price of the crypto markets as a whole. And hiring does, yes, somewhat depend upon that. I cashed out my 401k to invest in crypto, and now my wife wants a divorce. Get a good lawyer, brother. Andrew Rivers, hey Bobby, what's up? What are your thoughts on Augur? Seems to have some momentum a few months ago, but I don't hear much anymore. So I think Augur is pretty cool. We'll pull it up here. Let's see. I don't know how well it'll work with Brave. Get started. Do the web version. So Augur itself is, I think, pretty interesting. And this is separating Augur from Rep, because that's the big thing that happens with, so they don't have MetaMask on this Brave. But that's the big thing with a lot of these things is, it might be a really cool product, might be a really cool service. And there's also a token associated or a token attached to it. I think Augur is really cool. Do I have any holding of Rep, which is the utility token associated with Augur? No, I don't. But there are some really interesting things that have happened, I think, with Augur, where you can, it's essentially decentralized kind of betting, or prediction markets, but basically decentralized betting, where somebody can go in, they can make a market for some of these markets. One of the big things that was kind of cool was this. Here we go. Like, there were a lot of markets around some of the political bets out there. So which party would control the House after the 2018 election, the price of Ethereum. I hope most people say no to that, because I don't think it's going over $500 anytime soon. Rep. You can click into this and take kind of a look at it. I think that Augur is something that will hopefully take off. It's starting to grow, and it's growing. There are a number of things that are happening on Ethereum that I think are really interesting and are slowly but surely gaining adoption and gaining uses. The biggest thing, and I think unfortunately one of the biggest problems with Ethereum, or with dApps as a whole, and where the user interface can get better, it's just, when it comes down to connecting a wallet, you got to use whatever, it's Edge or MetaMask, Treasure, Ledger. Eventually the user experience is going to get better, and it's going to get better, and it's going to improve, and it's going to be seamless. This is still very difficult for somebody. If I'm a normal person, like let's just think, and this is every decentralized application this is DEXs on Ethereum, this is everything. But if I am somebody who, and I'm talking here about the kind of difficulties to use some of these dApps, if I am a new person that's never used crypto before, I don't know anything about crypto, no idea, I would use Augur. I can go in and I can say, okay, like, hey, maybe there's some political things here I want to bet on, or some, let's just say the NFL. Let's see if there's anything that's, who will win the Super Bowl in 2019. I want to bet on the Rams. I want to buy shares and say the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl in 2019. So I'll go into this. But how do I actually participate in that? Well, first, I'd have to go to I'd essentially have to go to Coinbase or somewhere else. I'd have to buy Ethereum. Then I'd have to send that Ethereum to either MetaMask, Trezor, Ledger, or Edge. I don't use Edge, but I've used MetaMask. I've used Ledger. I'd have to go and I'd send that there. And then I'd have to like go through the authentication process. And I'd have to buy rep. And there's a lot of just different steps and hoops that you have to jump through. And hopefully at some point in time, people will continue to work towards making this a more seamless process where you really don't even realize cryptocurrency is involved in it. So JS, what's up, man? What do you think about tokenized mining, Ambit and IRM versus contract mining, Hashflare and Genesis? So I am not familiar with tokenized mining at all, but contract mining or cloud mining, I think, is a load of dog shit for the most part. I would not touch contract mining at all. I think that's typically a poor investment. And if you're going to do any type of mining, that you should probably try to conduct that on your own. And that would be the best way to accomplish that. I recently bought, I think it's I have two RX 580s sitting in my living room right now. I haven't set them up yet, but I feel like I kind of want to play around a little bit with GPU mining and get that set up and just go through that process. But I would not touch contract mining at all. So, Gabriel, what's up, man? I would like to know your opinion on what's happening on the OTC market with the recent drop. So, if you're not familiar, guys, OTC market or OTC is over the counter. And OTC, the one thing about OTC is about 80% of, you might not be familiar with it, but about 80% of the OTC markets comprise about 80%, I believe, of the volume in the cryptocurrency world. The one thing is it's typically not reported. There is really no incentive for companies to report. Some of the big OTC providers, you have DRW, we'll pull it up here. Let's see, Cumberland is a massive, Cumberland is a big OTC provider. Genesis Trading is another one. They are, over-the-counter digital currency trading for institutional buyers and sellers. So this is over the counter. You could think about it as large or very rich people, high net worth individuals, companies. Either maybe you could think about companies that did an ICO and want to liquidate Ethereum to pay the bills, or you could also think about miners who are mining Bitcoin or Ethereum at large scale and need to sell that Bitcoin to somebody else. And the reason that somebody does an OTC transaction is because, let's say you have, I don't know, $10 million of Bitcoin. You're not going to put a $10 million market sell order on GDAX or on Kraken or Poloniex or Bitfinex or wherever else you want to go. It's not going to happen because there's going to be an incredible amount of slippage. You would rather pay an inflated fee to Genesis or to Cumberland to facilitate your order to somebody else, because you're going to deal with less. You're not going to deal with slippage. You're going to move in and out at essentially one price. And the OTC markets as a whole, as far as knowing what's happening there, for the most part, you're not going to see what's happening because they're being done usually off the order. They're being done off the order books of these major exchanges. Sometimes you might be able to see the activity on chain, but knowing that it is exactly OTC. But the one thing I will say with that is the majority of volume in the crypto space right now really is done OTC. Do you think people are taking refuge in XRP? Thank you very much for that super chat, by the way, Jess Kitchen. Very much appreciate it. Do you think people are taking refuge in XRP over the last few days? Granted, XRP is not classically crypto per se. Surely nowhere safe to hide at this point in time. I mean, there's not necessarily, do you think people are taking refuge? I think XRP has some positive price catalysts around. I guess XRP, I think XRP has some positive price catalysts that people are excited about. Obviously, there's a ton of people in the chat that are very excited about XRP right now. I've heard it the entire chat. So cheers to my XRP homies out there. Much love, much respect. You guys love me, I love you back. But do I think that it is specifically a reason? Alexa, you better shut up over there. Do I think it is really a place where people are taking refuge? No. I mean, if people want to take refuge, go to US dollar, go to whatever your local currency is, go to Tether, even go to a regular stable coin. I think there's just some positive catalysts around the XRP, positive catalysts around XRP as an asset and the XRP chart as a whole. Sprinkler Ninja, what's up, man? Would you buy one of those hardware lightning nodes you did a video on? So it's not really, I mean, at this point in time, it's not something you're going to make any money off of. It's cool to set up. It's cool to set up the node. It's cool to, I think my lightning node right now has about $7,000 worth of capacity on it. I have 15 payment channels set up with it. And it's fun to be participating in what I think could potentially be a really unique aspect of the cryptocurrency world in the future. So for me, it's more of an experimental thing, more of a nerdy thing. I really don't have any expectations of profit at all. And I don't think that if you want to buy the Casa Lightning node, which we can pull it up here. And again, I have no relationship to Casa whatsoever. I have no relationship to Casa whatsoever. I don't have any even affiliate codes or anything like that. But if you want to buy one of these, it is typically I thought it was extremely quick, easy, fast. You can also set it up yourself. I know there are a lot of people that were commenting on it. I mean, literally what it is, it's a Raspberry Pi, 1 terabyte hard drive, software built in for a full Lightning and Bitcoin node, some adapter cables. So you could probably build this yourself if you wanted to. You could probably run something on AWS, number of things. But when it came down to ease of use, stupid easy to use, stupid easy to get set up. And if you're really like, I don't want to say a Bitcoin maximalist because I'm not even necessarily a Bitcoin maximalist by any stretch. People want to, like, people in the XRP homies are like, yo, you're a Bitcoin maximalist. I work for an Ethereum based startup. So like, let's relax. But would not buy the Casa node if you want to make money, because I don't think you're necessarily going to make money for any time in the foreseeable future. If you want to participate in the Lightning ecosystem and the Bitcoin ecosystem in more depth, run a Bitcoin node, run a Lightning node, and do it in a very easy manner, I would check it out. You're just drunk. It's actually U''RE just drunk. It's UR. You're going to come at me. Get the spell check right, kid. I'll try to update the portfolio on the website when I can, for sure. So no chicken wraps. Actually, I'm tonight I have a boneless ribeye and some sweet potato fries. The Crypto Bobby Flay is back. I'm not going to be recording the whole episode, but Crypto Bobby Flay is back. I will be having a nice boneless ribeye. I made a nice trade today, so I got to reward myself. Also, you kind of got to eat away the pain of getting your face ripped off by the crypto markets right now. So a little bit of each. You are a drunk. Oh, wow, because I'm drinking 2 beers. Why is shorting legal? Shorting's legal across markets. I mean, I I posted a joke petition online that said make shorting illegal and throw all shorters in jail. I do think that you should be able to short crypto. Maybe that might not be a popular, I mean, I think it probably is, but I do think that you should be able to, I do think that shorting should not be an illegal thing, and I do think that shorting does lead to more efficient price discovery. Shorting does lead to more efficient price discovery. If the only thing you could do is long an asset and basically spot buy and sell it, I don't think that necessarily leads to efficient price discovery. And by having more liquidity for margin type of products like BitMEX and some of these other ones, I do think it does lead to more efficient price discovery. And whether or not that price discovery might be way up or way down, it's actually efficient, and that's actually what the market determines the price to be. Thanks, Dan. We appreciate it as always. Good to see you here. Do I have any shorts on BitMEX? No, I do not. I do not. No shorts on BitMEX for me. Shorting is not going to help any industry ever. Shout out Test Cooks for you. I don't know what you cook, but sounds like Test Cooks for me. So always up for free food. If you make a good buffalo chicken wrap, let me know. I think you're looking at price. It's not necessarily that the industry as a whole is dying or anything like that. And people look at this and think, oh my God, the industry is going to die. And things are moving on. Behind the scenes, work continues. Things happen. Maybe the majority of retail investors are packing up and headed for the door, but just because people can short an asset does not mean that it's not going anywhere. So, yeah. The blockchain critic. What's up, boy? What's up, Crypto Ethan? My dude. If that's the Crypto Ethan I know and love, shout out to Ethan for coming on. You guys remember Ethan came on the channel in January or February of this year. I think Bitcoin was at like $12,000 or something like that. He's like, I think we're gonna see like 4K. And at the time I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, buddy. Should have listened to him. What do we got here? Just YOLO invest in everything. Yeah, why not? Just YOLO invest in everything. That's typically certified positive financial advice. I mean, you just want to YOLO into everything. Obviously, the move every single time you can do that. Daniel Barnett, whatever happened to the carrier pigeons? Shout out to being an OG if you remember the carrier pigeons, because those, unfortunately, with the price of Ethereum right now, I'm unable to release the carrier pigeons. We're having a little bit of difficulty. So, got B&B to BTC. See if I can find it. So somebody asking about B&B to BTC. It has fallen. I mean, it's actually dropped pretty far in the past. B&B peaked in June. B&B peaked in June. It's down about 50% from its high in June, but was holding pretty stable since mid-August. It was basically holding this. What do we have? Like 150,000 Satoshi. So 150k Satoshi was kind of in that range, 140 something, and has really fallen through hard. I did have a B&B position exited for fiat in the past week or so, so that actually turned out to be a decent move. I think BNB is interesting because as far as utility goes, probably has some of the most utility out of any cryptocurrency out there. Like, there are a lot of uses for BNB. There are certainly some questions around, I think, in my opinion, the legality of it. BNB is available, generally speaking, to United States citizens. They do a token burn to kind of essentially inflate the price of BNB. And a token burn was one of the things that Paragon was in trouble for from the SEC. So I think token burns and kind of algorithmic ways to inflate the price of an asset might be deemed negative by the SEC. Also, Binance does not necessarily operate in the United States and does not necessarily care what the SEC says. So I don't necessarily know how that will pan out, but I do not have a Binance BNB position right now. It does have some of the best utility, whether it comes to discounted trading fees, basically more affiliate commissions, a number of different things. There's a lot of kind of built-in ways, converting dust to BNB, a lot of different things that Binance has done specifically to increase the utility of BNB, but it doesn't. I think they kind of blur the lines of legality in some cases. What's up, Lightning? What do you think on the pace of adoption? When do you think crypto will be mainstream, where you can buy and sell most things with it? It's a good question. Some of it does come down to, I think, like larger scale partnerships like this with Bakkt and Starbucks, and kind of building out the infrastructure and the pipes. One of the other things that I think will be interesting too is Square. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Square. Square, I'm sure if you're in the US, I don't know the adoption personally of Square abroad, but Square is really, at least in New York City, probably one of the more common point of sale systems. So when you go and you check out with a credit card, a lot of times these coffee shops, restaurants, whatever they might be, use Square because it's an efficient, cheap way, really modern solution to use. They use Square. The CEO of Square, Jack Dorsey, is also the CEO of Twitter, is a fan of Bitcoin, spoke at Consensus in New York last year, has said multiple times he's a fan of Bitcoin. You can actually buy Bitcoin directly through this Square Cash app, but I think you might see some greater, tighter integration with Bitcoin and payment processors in the future that might allow you to more freely spend Bitcoin. So that I would keep an eye on what happens with Bakkt and Starbucks. See if that turns out well or if that's a total flop. If it's a flop, it's probably not going to be good. I would also keep an eye on Square. I will not be attending Consensus Invest. Might try to head around to some things after that, but I will not be attending Consensus Invest. As always, appreciate the super chats very much, Naima. Thank you. Yeah, Bakkt is delayed. Yep, you can see here, Bakkt is pushed back this Bitcoin futures launch. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate that super chat as well, man. Taking a look at some of these questions here. What do you think of Hedera Hashgraph? So I think I had Jordan from Hashgraph on the channel a while ago. So if you want to go back and check that out, I had an interview with Jordan, who's like their head of business development. Hashgraph will be interesting. I'm curious to see what happens to a lot of these. I'm curious to see what happens to a lot of these projects that raised. I believe Hashgraph raised at a very high valuation. But like Hashgraph, Filecoin, there's a number of them that have raised money in private markets. And when I say private markets, to institutional and accredited investors, these crypto funds, they basically raise money at very high valuations, but they are not currently available on the public market. So you can't actually trade their tokens yet. Hashgraph being one of those. what happens to Hashgraph when it has this super high valuation when it comes to the market? Is it going to dump because the investors need to get their money out and the rest of the market is going down, or they want to maybe deploy that capital elsewhere? Who knows? It will be interesting to see, but yeah, I guess that's my overall thought process. I'm curious to see what happens because Hashgraph raised at a high valuation. I'm not even gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into it. Oh god. Best low priced coin. I mean, you could buy a cent of a Bitcoin you could buy 10 cents worth of Bitcoin if you want to. I don't think the low priced has anything to do with it. That was a good investment methodology in December and January of 2017, 2018, when there were a bunch of kind of new people joining the market. But I would not buy an asset solely because it is the cheapest thing out there. I mean, for example, I would not look at the top 10 right now and buy XRP or Cardano solely because they're under $1. If you really like XRP, sure, buy it. If you really like, Stellar, buy it. But I would not buy it solely because it is 19 cents. You have to also consider the fact that, here, we'll pop over here, look at Stellar. You have to consider a few different things. The market cap is $3.5 billion. The market cap in 2050 is going to be $26 billion on a fully diluted basis. We have a circulating supply of $19 billion. The year 2050 supply is $142 billion. There's only 13% of the supply issued right now. There are a lot of other things you have to think about besides price. So I would also check out On-Chain FX for that. The cult around Ripple is honestly a super bullish factor. Yeah, I know I said I personally am not a fan of XRP from an investment standpoint. I did say that, and I will stand by that. It's not something I'm interested in hodling. But shout out to the Ripple army or to the XRP army, because you guys bring the heat. You'll talk that shit, and you'll get into it, and you'll mix it up. So, yeah, shout out to you guys. I can't say anything else. You're a dedicated bunch. You are a dedicated bunch. The price of Bitcoin has gone up as I've been streaming. Hell is frozen over. I mean, there's kind of nowhere for it to go but up at this point in time. Let's see where we're at. The 15-minute chart. Hey, there we are. A little bounce since I've been going live. Could be worse. Could be better. Could be worse. Anthony M., do you have any suggestions or classes or videos online for someone looking to start day trading crypto? I personally would not recommend day trading crypto, but I've heard this is pretty good. I think a lot of the lessons apply. I believe it's free. A couple people have mentioned this before. If you want to check it out, Baby Pips. But I think you'll get eaten, to be pretty frank. I think unless you have an informational edge right now or a knowledge edge, technical edge, I think you will get eaten alive for the most part by professional traders. I think one of the things that's happened in the past like year, since from 2017 to 2018, is there are a lot more professional investors in this space and professional traders in this space, and whether that's algorithmic traders or people with a significant informational edge, day trading for the average person is probably not as profitable as it once was. And as the market continues to mature, I think more and more people are priced out of day trading opportunities. So I would recommend to think long and hard and ensure that you have a lot more experience than just watching maybe a couple 15-minute videos on, what RSI and MACD and, some and the Ichimoku cloud means and things like that. So I would recommend just to be thoughtful and deliberate about what you're thinking about doing and how you're going to deploy your money before you start day trading. Can you please tell your viewers if you hate or like Bitcoin in your humble personal opinion, Mr. Investor? I do not hate Bitcoin. I have an excessive amount of my net worth in Bitcoin, so I think I like Bitcoin. What would make me the most happy person in the stream right now is if you gave me your thoughts on ontology. I wish to know what you think, and I'm writing this comment to show you. So I don't have a tremendous opinion on ontology. I think a lot of the neo momentum move to ontology for sure, but I don't have a really strong opinion on ontology at all. Guys, outside of that, it has actually been shockingly a full hour of crypto happy hour. I have like one sip of my champagne of beer left. I appreciate all you guys coming and hanging out with me. I know the markets have not been fun for many people unless you've been leverage margin short. So I know a lot of people are hurting right now, and to that, I am as well. So I think we're a little bit in the same boat, for better or for worse. I remain having long-term conviction in Bitcoin and the asset class as a whole. I could be completely wrong, and I could be a total idiot, but that's me, and I'm gonna I'm a ride or die bitch, so I'm gonna stay with it. But outside of that, I really appreciate your time on the stream tonight. It was a pleasure hanging with you. Thank you guys so much for all your questions. I hope you have a fantastic day or night wherever you have been watching in from. Good hanging with you guys. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, the notify bell. Trying to make as much content as possible in between the day job and all that good stuff. And I'm not going anywhere. Price of Bitcoin goes up, price of Bitcoin goes down. You boys not stopping making videos and podcasts. So appreciate the time.